This video is about to get very surgical, so stay with me, all right? Punch just tweeted, rap feels like October 5th, 539 BC. I know it's not Sunday, right? But when you look up October 5th, 539 BC, guess what you get? The fall of Babylon. The fall of Babylon. And when you think about hip hop and what's been going on in the rap industry, specifically that side, it makes complete sense. Now, we've been talking about these things on this channel on Sundays. I know it's been a while, right? But we've already been talking about this type of stuff. So it falls right in line. Let's look into this story and find the parallels between what had went on during the fall of Babylon and what's going on now in this rap industry, right? And it's crazy, the connections. Check this out. The fall of Babylon in 539 BC was a pivotal moment in ancient history, marking the end of the Neo-Babylonian Empire and the rise of the Achaemenid Persian Empire under Cyrus the Great. Somebody that I never really thought about making a parallel to Kendrick, but I'm gonna look into that one. This event reshaped the political landscape of the Near East as Babylon, one of the most powerful and culturally rich empires of the ancient world, fell to the emerging Persian forces. What does that sound like to you? This event reshaped the political landscape of the Near East as Babylon, one of the most powerful and culturally rich empires of the ancient world, fell to the emerging Persian forces. What does that sound like to you, man? What does that sound like? That sounds like what's going on right now, right? The downfall of Babylon was the result of a combination of factors, including internal strife, political mismanagement, religious tensions, and the military prowess of the Persians. What does that sound like to you? That sounds exactly like what's going on right now. When you look at, and I'm not talking about Atlanta as a whole, we just talking about, we know the specific group, right? We know what they're talking about, right? That's exactly what's going on in the dysfunction of their whole thing. That's what's been going on, right? So this comparison is very valid. And then we start getting into, what's it called? The decline of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. Check this out. The Neo-Babylonian Empire, which had reached its zenith under the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, right, began to decline after his death. Nebuchadnezzar had strengthened Babylon's position as a dominant force in the Near East, overseeing significant building projects, including the famous Hanging Gardens, and engaging in military campaigns that expanded Babylonian influence. Now, we've already made the comparison between Nebuchadnezzar and Drake on his channel already. And we've also made the connection to that ruler and Saul and Drake, right? And then David and Kendrick. Now, the one thing I never thought about was how, actually, when you think about the decline of the Neo-Babylonian Empire, like it's saying here, it started to go down after his death. And in a sense, you can make that same case for after Drake metaphorically lost his head in the battle against Kendrick, right? Because that whole faction has suffered because of that loss. That whole faction has suffered. The way they were able to make things look like they were bigger than they were was because at least they had Drake on their features and all that different stuff, even though he was participating in that. With Kendrick Lamar ruining his stock, everybody else took a hit. So this is essentially what's going on here, right? I mean, yeah, it's really similar. Now, when we start talking about right here, however, the rulers who succeeded Nebuchadnezzar lacked this vision and capability, leading to internal instability and discontent among various factions within the empire. And this is a whole bunch of people that we can apply this to since Drake lost that battle. Now, when we start talking about the rise of Cyrus the Great and the Persian Empire, this is where it gets interesting. While Babylon was grappling with internal problems, the Persian Empire was rapidly expanding under the leadership of Cyrus the Great. What does that sound like? You know what? The parallel between Kendrick and Cyrus the Great is getting its own video, because I'm gonna do some research and some due diligence and get deeper on Cyrus the Great, and then obviously we'll give some more time to Nebuchadnezzar and his comparison to Drake, because it's extremely similar. But this is exactly what's been going on. TDE, Kendrick Lamar, everybody that's been, you know what I'm saying, they've been expanding, growing, building, moving into different fields in the industry, etc. While that faction has been struggling, right? And that's essentially what's been going on, if you look at it from that perspective. Cyrus, who came to power as king of Ashan and Persia around 559 BC, quickly established himself as a formidable ruler. His first consolidated his power by defeating the Medes, a neighboring people who had previously dominated the Persians. It's interesting. By 550 BC, Cyrus had overthrown Astyages, the king of the Medes, and united the Medes and Persians under his rule, forming the foundation of the Achaemenid Empire. Now, let's say this. Let's just say this. If Punch is tweeting that, and I doubt that Punch is really making the complete comparison to all of this. I doubt he's doing that, right? But for the fun of to have the conversation, let's say that he is. Wouldn't this also look like, if the guidelines are following and the story is aligning itself, this would definitely mean that there would be more music. And I think more blood be spilling, this just paint to me would align with the fact with how Cyrus the Great actually went and quickly made an example once he got to that point, right? And you can debate that. You can debate a lot of things with this, but that's the fun of it. Cyrus's military successes continued as he expanded his empire westward. In 547 BC, he launched a campaign against the kingdom of Lydia, located in what is now western Turkey, and defeated its king Croesus. This victory extended Persian control over much of Asia Minor, bringing Cyrus closer to the borders of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. With his forces now in position to threaten Babylon, Cyrus began eyeing the empire as his next target, right? So you could really argue that something else is about to take place if we making this parallel, right? Just for the fun of it. But this is exactly what's been going on. If you look at these rap sides, right? These sides that have been taken, it's very easy to put the Achaemenid Empire on the side of the TDE, the Kids of the Mars, etc., and then put the Babylonian Empire on the side of the 21 Savages and the Drakes, and easily see the parallels. It's easy to see them. By 540 BC, Cyrus had begun his invasion of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. His strategy was multifaceted, involving both military campaigns and diplomatic efforts to win over Babylonian subjects who were disillusioned with Nabonidus' rule, right? That's essentially what we saw. Think about it. The first 16 bars of Euphoria is Kendrick Lamar essentially saying, the only reason you've been able to do this is because of them superpowers, right? But now I'm here to show the people what it really is, right? The people who were disillusioned by this. And Kendrick Lamar's attack sounds very similar to that, right? Cyrus skillfully exploited the growing dissatisfaction within Babylon, particularly among the religious and political elite who resented Nabonidus' religious reforms and neglect of the city's administration. And essentially, you can compare that to the quality of the music. You can compare that to the quality of the music. Cyrus, right, explains that the leaders or that there was a growing dissatisfaction within Babylon, like it says here, and that could easily be traced to them not caring about the art form, right? The bots, the blah, blah, all the different stuff, and them not genuinely caring about the art form and putting time into their music, etc., and how people were becoming frustrated with that. In October 539 BC, Cyrus' forces engaged the Babylons in the Battle of Opis, a decisive confrontation that took place near the city of Opis on the Tigris River. The Persian army, led by General Gorgias, defeated the Babylonian forces, opening the way for Cyrus to march on Babylon itself. After the battle, the Persians continued their advance, encountering little resistance as they moved through the Babylonian territory. Look, bro, these parallels are insane because this potentially, not only does it look like it all is in comparison already took place, but you could also look at it from the lens of more taking place, the job not being finished. You see what I'm saying? And it seems like if you look at the other side, that's at least what they've been preparing for. It feels like there's more to come, but I don't know. I'm not saying that I'm not saying it's going to be as simple as a Kendrick versus Drake, but I think Kendrick already did what he did, right? I think it'll probably be a little more complicated than that, or really just them winning with the music, them just winning with great music and really killing off the other stuff. You see what I'm saying? And that's basically what this story is relaying. Even when you start talking about the Cyrus symbol, another important ancient source, also describes the fall of Babylon in relatively peaceful terms. This inscription, often regarded as an early example of propaganda, right? And it portrays Cyrus as a liberator chosen by the god of Marduk to restore order and justice to Babylon. Now, the thing is interesting about this part is that it also emphasizes how it's very easy for what actually took place to be distorted and rewrote into something else, right? Which is why it's important for the documentation of what's been going on so that when people come look at this stuff, they can see what was going on. But that just shows you that everything that they've been doing on that side has been similar to the propaganda or attempting to rewrite history with the propaganda. You feel what I'm saying? That's exactly what they've been doing. They've been talking about how they first had to say the Kendrick songs were botted. Then they had to say that it was rigged because they need to get Drake out of position, doing whatever they can to rewrite the history. Now, we could go into all of this, which, you know what? We will. After capturing Babylon, Cyrus swiftly integrated into the Achaemenid Empire. Unlike many conquerors who imposed harsh rule over their newly acquired territories, Cyrus pursued a policy of tolerance and respect for local customs and religions. He allowed the Babylonians to continue practicing their religion and restored the temples that had been neglected under Nabonidus. This approach helped Cyrus win the loyalty of the Babylonian priesthood and the population at large. What does that sound like to y'all? That sounds like Kendrick's position in the music industry currently, and how many people have been him putting people in position, him giving people features. Not saying that these artists can do their own thing without Kendrick. Let's make that clear, right? Clips is clips. Everybody is just doing what they do. But it is to acknowledge that this type of energy is different than the rule under Drake. Drake's rule was completely different. You see what I'm saying? And we know the stories. We know all the different stuff. And it already feels like not only do people Kendrick's rule is going to be a whole lot different and a whole lot different energy. But I wonder if the overall battle is over. And honestly, I don't think it is. I think that at least there's at least a few more attacks that are going to be thrown over there. And I think that, you know what I'm saying, 2026 is going to be an extremely interesting year. And then, look, Cyrus's policies extended beyond Babylon. One of his most significant acts was to allow exiled peoples, including the Jews, to return to their homelands and rebuild their temples. So, yeah, we don't even got to keep going on this. We know, just based off this, that something is there for the Cyrus the Great's story and Kendrick Lamar's story in this situation. So what we're going to do is do another video just like this, but we're going to do Kendrick Lamar and Cyrus the Great and parallel those. And we'll also do Nebuchadnezzar and the comparison to Drake. You feel what I'm saying? Because we could go all day, but we're going to break this down into pieces. You feel what I'm saying? So I appreciate y'all, though, for coming. Like, comment, subscribe, especially if you're new here, especially if you've been here. And this was in perfect timing because I had just gotten back into, my rhythm and everything when it comes to these Sunday videos, and I feel like this was the perfect time just for to get it back started, go right back in it, and yeah, I'm excited. You feel what I'm saying? I'm gonna catch y'all. Have a good day.